Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of AEW Dynamite for January 15th, 2020. And as always, I will be giving a quick recap of the NXT results as well and my thoughts from what I did see out of the NXT broadcast. Now, Ken, terminated by Google, longtime No DQ supporter and viewer, with a $5 super chat says, Rift, are we allowed to curse in a super chat? Sent plenty of $10 super chats this week. You sure you didn't see them? Night, everyone. Hashtag Aaron Rift is the S. You can use curse words. I'll have to determine if I think it's appropriate or not. But if you're respectful, I guess I can use a curse word every now and then. It depends on how you use it. Remember, it's not so much the word, but the context of the word and how you're using it. Let's go ahead and get started with the AEW recap. We had a graphic for Rocky Johnson, who unfortunately passed away at the age of 75. My condolences to The Rock and his family. We had the Bash at the Beach setup, which was basically the normal AEW stage, and they had a beach ball out there. They had a little bit of sand. They had a lifeguard chair with a hot bikini model sitting on top of it. Nice little touch here. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, and I'm just going to say this right now. I was a bit disappointed that we did not get any big spots involving the set. Like, if you're going to have all these items out there for a special Bash at the Beach themed show, how can you not have somebody jumping off of that lifeguard tower? I just don't get it. So that was a little bit of a letdown. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Psycho Jet Black. He says, is Marco Stunt more over than Brandy Rhodes? I would say so. I would say pretty much anybody is more over than Brandy Rhodes at this point. But I'll get to Brandy Rhodes here in just a couple of minutes. We opened up Bash at the Beach right with a match. No introductions. We had a four-way tag team match. All four teams in the ring. It was Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page up against Santana and Ortiz from the Inner Circle. And then we had the Best Friends along with, of course, Orange Cassidy and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. The storyline in this match was that the Elite were basically working together despite the fact that it was every team for themselves. Especially Kenny Omega and the Bucks were working together during the match. Then we had this one spot where everybody was going to be doing a suplex at the same time. All 8 competitors were in the ring trying to suplex each other simultaneously. And that's when Orange Cassidy got in the ring, and he was the difference maker. He made the whole spot happen. Very silly and over the top, but it is Orange Cassidy after all, and that's what you come to expect. We had the Best Friends do their big hug with Orange Cassidy, giving him the seal of approval for his work. But that was short-lived. The Young Bucks ended up saving Kenny Omega at one point, and then the Bucks started hitting a bunch of super kicks, super kick party. Matt almost hit Adam Page, but did not do so. However, Page showed his appreciation by tagging himself in, and then with the buckshot lariat and V-trigger combo, Omega and Page pick up the victory. The Young Bucks at first were not too happy about this, that Page did that when they could have super kicked him, but they didn't. But they did eventually raise the hands of Omega and Page. And it looks like next week it will be Omega and Page challenging SCU for the AEW Tag Team titles. Now, we kicked off NXT with a recap of what happened at the NXT TakeOver UK pay-per-view. Then we had Keith Lee, come out. He talked about the number one contendership. He talked about how the Undisputed Era has reached the peak. However, Keith Lee is limitless. That's when the Undisputed Era came out, and Adam Cole got on the mic and said They've taken out all these guys, Velveteen Dream, and so on. And now Keith Lee is being added to the list. They got in the ring. Keith Lee was fighting them off for a little bit, but eventually a steel chair from Roderick Strong gave the Undisputed Era the upper hand. And then they put the steel chair around Keith Lee's ankle. And that's when Roddy got on top, jumped off onto Lee's ankle. Eventually, we had Tommaso Ciampa come out to make the save. Next up on AEW, we had DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, backstage, doing his yoga, doing all that stretching, getting ready for his comeback match. We had Cody Rhodes coming out to answer MJF's challenge. Now, funny enough, there was no Arn Anderson this week, so maybe that is done. Maybe they have scrapped that concept, which, quite frankly, I think is the right decision. Just it never made much sense to me with Arn Anderson being out there. Cody doesn't need a manager. He doesn't need a guy talking for him. He cut this promo. He was wearing this Miami Vice style outfit. He brought up the stipulations on the big screen. And then Cody accepted all the challenges. He accepted the whipping with the belt. He accepted the cage match with Wardlow, which is going to be taking place in Atlanta in a couple of weeks. I guess the idea is that it's going to be AEW's first cage match, and they're running that show in the big arena, which was the Phillips Arena at one point. So yeah, they're really hoping to get those ticket sales going with a steel cage match. We had Cody continue his promo. He talked about how that maybe one day it's going to be Wardlow that will be the star and MJF will be the one carrying the bags. But then he said that MJF, he finally found something decent to do with his life. He became a wrestler, and now the internet thinks he is an old school heel because he does less is more. However, Cody said that it actually means MJF is lazy. And then he finished the promo by saying that MJF is just a chapter of his career and that he is going to give MJF his own goddamn scar. You're goddamn right, Cody. You're going to give him that goddamn scar. Over on NXT, we had Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle versus Andrews and Webster. By the way, regarding that Cody promo, I thought it was a good promo. I did enjoy it. It was a little weird, the whole old school heel reference, but overall I thought it was a good promo. I did enjoy it. Cody's doing some good stuff here. Again, he doesn't need Arn Anderson. Now back to NXT, the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Interestingly enough, Dusty Rhodes Classic going on while his son Cody is doing a promo. Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle picked up a victory over Andrews and Webster, who had just come off of their match at the NXT UK TakeOver pay-per-view. Over on AEW, we had a Joey Janela promo, talked about being punched in the balls by his girlfriend. He hyped up his match next week with Rey Fenix. We then had Brandy and Mel, who is the girl with the shaved head like CM Punk's Straight Edge Society. They were accompanied by Luther against Chris Statlander and Sheeta. So get this, guys. They bring in this guy, Luther, who apparently has been this notorious superstar. I've never heard of the guy before. And, I've been covering wrestling for all these years. I admittedly don't watch much Japanese wrestling, but I don't know anything that Luther has done in the United States. So Luther, he cut off Sheeta on the ramp. And get this, guys. Sheeta just took a kendo stick and hit him with it and passed him right by. Really? You guys just made Luther look like a complete jabroni in 5 seconds. Like, now I definitely don't give a damn about this guy. Like, how intimidating is that? He gets hit with a kendo stick and that's it. So we had this match, which was not too good. A lot of moves did not connect, and the announcers had to say it a couple of times. Didn't get all of it. It was slow. especially compared to the stuff we've been seeing on NXT and on AEW as well. I mean, the opening match was just bam, 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 lots of action. The ladies just moved slow. Nobody really looked good. I thought it was pretty lackluster. Anyways, Chris Statlander got the hot tag. Brandy tried to run away, but nobody was there. And then Stat ended up pinning Mel with the pile driver, whatever her move is called, the alien pile driver. I have no idea. Over on NXT, we had Ciampa come out for a promo. He talked about how the Undisputed Era has a hit list, and he added that Cody is on, or not Cody, sorry, Cole is on his hit list. I see Cole written here on my notes, and I'm half blind here, so when I look at this, it looks like Cody, and I just have Cody on the brain, so I apologize for that. He has Adam Cole on his hit list, not Cody. He talked about getting his Goldie back and taking his life back. And that's when the Undisputed Era came out. They attacked Ciampa. Gargano came out, made the save, and we had this big DIY reunion. At the Worlds Collide pay-per-view, it is going to be DIY teaming up together, reunited against the Mustache Mountain. That should be a hell of a match. Back on AEW, we had another Dark Order video. They're trying to recruit all the lower card guys like Michael Nakazawa and Brandon Cutler and Hangman Page. So at least they're trying to recruit one relevant guy. We had Sammy Guevara come out for his match with Jon Moxley. Guevara, during the picture-in-picture break, he was showing off his cue cards. Moxley arrived in his car that Jericho gave him. Now, I'm not sure if I wasn't hearing it, but I don't think he came out to any music, so it kind of felt awkward. He just came out there with a car and there was no music, but maybe I just had the volume way down and I wasn't picking up the music. I don't know. Anyways, pretty decent match, fairly lengthy. Sammy did get in some offense against Moxley. Actually got a nice near fall with a knee. Crowd did buy into it a little bit, but in the end, Moxley countered one of Sammy's moonsault flippy moves into a submission, like a Taz mission-like submission, and picked up the victory. After the match, the lights went out, and I was like, oh no, please no Dark Order, but it was not the Dark Order, it was the Inner Circle in the ring, and Jericho took the AEW Championship and he started whipping Moxley with it, which is interesting to me. Why would they do an angle like this where Moxley's getting whipped when the whole storyline with Cody is that MJF is going to get to whip him with a belt at some point? So I'm not sure why they did this at the same time Cody's thing's going on, but whatever. Jericho then took a page, I should say, out of the old NWA Road Warriors playbook. Jericho was wearing this outfit with spikes, and back in 1988, there was an angle where the Legion of Doom, Road Warriors, whatever you want to call them, they took one of the spikes from their outfit and they used it on Dusty Rhodes. Dusty started bleeding like crazy, and from what I recall, the story at the time was that blood was not allowed on TBS, and Dusty ended up losing his job over that, ended up in the WWE a couple months later for bleeding. But yeah, that was a great angle back in the day. Like, Dusty was bleeding like crazy and they were just jamming that thing. This one, unfortunately, was not quite as good. So Jericho took out this spike and he didn't even come close to connecting to Moxley with it, first of all. And they didn't do any like big blade job or anything. I thought it was an all right angle, but I was just a little disappointed because I think they should have done this differently. Jericho should have banned Moxley from the cruise ship, and Moxley should have showed up anyways and terrorized everyone. Instead, they're doing this different angle, which is, playing off of that Road Warriors Dusty angle from the 80s. And they were teasing that Moxley would not show up next week. So apparently Moxley has to earn the title match with Jericho. I could have sworn it was already set in stone that Moxley was fighting Jericho at the pay-per-view. I thought that was the match already, and Moxley was the number one contender, and that's why Jericho was doing this whole thing to recruit him so he wouldn't have to face him at the pay-per-view. But now Moxley has to fight for the title match next week on the cruise ship, which again, why not just ban him from the cruise ship? I think that they could have done a better angle here, but it was all right. I mean, it wasn't terrible or anything, but I mean, I've seen it executed better in the past. So that's my take on it. We had over on NXT, we had Alex Shelley making his NXT TV debut, teaming up with Kushida against the grizzled young veterans. Seemed like Alex Shelley was a sentimental favorite from the fans, but in the end, it was the veterans picking up the victory, pinning Shelley. And after the match, the time splitters, Shelley and Kushida, wanted a handshake, but the veterans left the ring. They cut a promo, talked about how they didn't travel all the way to America to shake hands. And they did admit, however, that Shelley and Kushida, they're a great tag team of the past. And the veterans said that they are the present and the future of the wrestling business. They conquered Europe, and they're not going to stop. They're going to conquer the world. So nice promo from these guys, and I like the heel heat here. And, you know, in a way, beating Alex Shelley when fans wanted to see him win his first match, you know, put some more heat on these guys. So I actually liked this a lot. I thought that this was well done. Back over on AEW, we had Chris Jericho backstage, interviewed about what happened to Moxley. He said that what happened was Jon Moxley's fault. He signed his own death warrant, an eye for an eye. Then we had a 6-man tag team match, MJF with the Butcher and the Blade up against QT Marshall, Dustin Rhodes, and the returning Diamond Dallas Page. MJF had a great t-shirt that said, "I banged Dallas's daughter." That was pretty funny. I have to say, though, they kind of screwed up in AEW. DDP came out for his big match, his big return, and they missed his pyro. The production people missed the pyro. How do you screw that up? You know, he does the bang, pyro goes off, and you miss the camera shot. So that was a little disappointing. Basically, the storyline was MJF didn't want to get in the ring with Page, so QT started the match. Eventually, after a lot of shenanigans, I mean, MJF used the ring when the referee wasn't looking. DDP finally got the hot tag. He came in. MJF hit a low blow. That led to Dustin Rhodes tagging in, hitting the Canadian Destroyer, and then DDP got the Diamond Cutter on MJF. However, Blade, I think, one of the guys made the save. DDP got on the top rope, and he did this dive to everybody on the outside. So even DDP, 63 years old, has to hang with the young guys and do the big high-flying move to get the pop from the crowd. You still got it, all that stuff. And as this was going on, MJF rolled up QT Marshall, the guy that was in this match, to take the fall, to pick up the victory. So the heels victorious. DDP loses his comeback match, but did have a couple of cool moments to be in the limelight one more time. So it was fun. It was fun for what it was. And over on NXT, we had a Robert Stone promo. Robert Stone, formerly Robbie E, and his new person that he's managing, Chelsea Green, called her the hottest free agent in wrestling. They got into a limousine. Then we had a Finn Balor video package to hype up the match with Johnny Gargano at NXT Portland. And then we had a triple threat match. Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Tyler Breeze, playing the role of QT Marshall, the guy to take the fall in the match, versus Lio Rush. Triple threat match with Angel Garza on commentary. And The guy whose name I'm not going to read off with the $2 super chat says, nice stream. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And now this guy can be put in timeout. All right, back to the show here. We had Angel Garza on commentary. Lots of high flying moves from these guys. I mean, Lio Rush is awesome. This was a really fun match. Scott tried to steal the pin after Rush hit the frog splash, and then Leo came back, hit a stunner on him, and then Breeze tried to pin Leo, and that's when Scott came in, hit his finisher on Breeze. So now it will be Isaiah Scott facing Angel Garza for the Cruiserweight Championship. Cruiserweights, they do deliver. 205 Live is really entertaining, but does it matter? I mean, I guess to some people it does, and it's fun. It's a fun division, I don't have a problem with the Cruiserweights being around. I just don't have any interest in watching 205 Live. I think having 205 just absorbed into NXT is the way to go. So next up on AEW, we had Adam Page confronting SCU backstage being a jerk, and that's when Kenny Omega came in, tried to cool everybody down, and said that next week it's going to be a gentleman's contest. So I feel like AEW's doing the Lex Luger Sting storyline from '95, where Lex Luger went heel, and Luger and Sting were a tag team, but Sting was the babyface and Luger was the heel. Luger was always doing bad things behind Sting's back, and Sting was trying to keep everybody in check. So feels like AEW's kind of doing this storyline. Adam Page going heel here, and Omega's the babyface trying to be the voice of reason. So we'll see how this goes. We'll see if they keep it going or not. Tony H with a $2 super chat says, Hangman turning heel next week seems predictable. Well, here's the thing. To quote Jeff Meacham, by the way, make sure you guys check out his podcast channel on Spotify and Anchor. Look him up. Follow him at Twitter for all the details, @_Jeff Meacham on Twitter. Aren't we still supposed to be getting Pac versus Omega, the third match of the trilogy, the rubber match? I would think we would be getting that at Revolution, and if that's the case, then I think it's better to slow burn the Hangman turn and maybe do this angle for a while where Hangman's the heel and Omega's the babyface, and it's the Luger Sting thing, and keep that going for a little while instead of just blowing it off in 1 week. So I actually would not even be surprised if they won the titles, and AEW does like the Odd Couple storyline with them where Page is kind of being a jerk, and Omega, they're part of the elite, so they got to stick together. But there's some interesting things you could do with that. So I would not be opposed to a title change and keep the storyline going for a little bit. Over on NXT, we had Keith Lee going crazy, trying to get his hands on Roderick Strong outside the arena. You had a ton of security guards trying to cool him off, but he snapped. He threw one of the guys into a car. He screamed that the prophecy ends next week. So next week, Keith Lee takes on Roderick Strong for the North American Championship, and we'll see if we get a title change here or not. I mean, Undisputed Era, they have all the gold. Will it continue, or will next week be the time that the Undisputed Era's reign of terror finally starts to come to an end? All right, so now we have the main events. First up over on AEW, we had Pac versus Darby Allin, and the winner of this match was being advertised to face Jon Moxley for the #1 contendership. Again, didn't Moxley already be established as the #1 contender? Wasn't he already established? We had a match, really good match. I mean, I enjoyed it very much. Darby got a lot of offense on Pac. He hit the coffin drop to the outside, and Pac barely made it back in. But in the end, the veteran prevailed. Pac hit the Black Arrow, picked up the victory. And then after the match, and as Virtue points out, Darby always jobs. I mean, yeah, he's pretty much like Jeff Hardy, like putting over other guys for now, and we'll see if at some point Darby will start to pick up a winning streak. And people in the chat room are saying, yeah, Darby needs a win at some point. Agreed. I mean, you got to have him win something. I mean, if he's just going to lose constantly, eventually people are going to lose interest. So, yeah, you want to do the underdog storyline, but eventually the underdog's got to pick up a victory. So after the match, we had Pac interviewed by Tony Schiavone, and Pac proclaimed himself the new #1 contender since Moxley was taken out by Jericho. And that's when we cut to the back. Moxley was being loaded up into an ambulance. I wonder why it took so long to do this, when he was injured like 45 minutes earlier. Anyways, Moxley had an eye patch. He got out of the ambulance. He came out to the ringside into the staging area. He said that he will be there next week, and the title shot belongs to him. And he's going to beat Pac's ass and win the #1 contendership. And that was the end of AEW Dynamite. Oh, by the way, $2 super chat from Hoofhearted. I am back, baby. Welcome back, Hoofhearted. I have missed that username. Second best username after Hank Schrader on the shitter. And Tony H with a $2 super chat says, Moxie, GI Moxie ready for service next week. Yeah, interesting attire from Jon Moxley. So overall, I enjoyed AEW. I thought it was a good show. Didn't think it was like among the best Dynamites, but I thought it was pretty good. Again, I was disappointed with the lack of people going off of the Bash at the Beach props that they had out there, like the lifeguard chair tower. Somebody could have jumped off of that. They didn't do it. So I was let down by that, especially with all the guys that do the crazy jumps and stuff. Sad we didn't get to see any of that. I mean, if you're going to have the set, you got to utilize it. Dylan with a $2 super chat says, Darby did beat Brandon Cutler on Dark yesterday. Yeah, but it's Dark. He's got to win on Dynamite, the primary show, If you win on Dark, it's almost like it didn't happen. As Virtue says, what happens on Dark stays on Dark. So what did you guys think about AEW this week? What is your letter grade for the show? Let me know what you think. I think it was a solid B. I think it was a good show. And Super Namick wants to know, what do you expect of AEW in a cruise show next week with spots? I'm hoping they'll do some crazy stuff like jump off, one of the balconies into a pool. Like, there's a lot of fun things they can do, and I hope they utilize the ship to its fullest potential as much as they can legally get away with. This is like, a first time ever, so you got to go all out for this and make it really fun and unique. So that's what I'm hoping for from AEW next week on the cruise. Lewis gives the show an A. Kev Dog gives it a B. Jeremy Dorset with a B. Christopher Mace with a B. Nelson with a B+. And Harley gives AEW a C+, and NXT a B-. CC Drink with a B-. Hoofhearted with a B+, says it was underwhelming for the Bash at the Beach name. And Super Namic 2121 gives it an A+. So there you go. And DJ Whitey with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, NXT TakeOver Portland, dog. You go into your second home for it? Unfortunately, no. I will not be there in Portland for the show. Unfortunately, it was a year late. But I hope everybody in Portland has a great time there. Josh, Alexander, RJ, Sean, Dean, I hope you guys have a great time in Portland for the pay-per-view. It's going to be awesome. I mean, you guys are in for a real treat. I've already gotten to go to a bunch of NXT takeovers, so, I would love to be back in Portland. I'd enjoy that more than going to the show, but, yeah, unfortunately, it's not meant to be. So let's go ahead and talk about the end of the NXT broadcast. We had the Women's Battle Royal, and Casey Catanzaro, not sure how to pronounce her name, she is back. She was at the Royal Rumble, and she made a few NXT appearances, and then she just disappeared. But she is back now. She was part of the Battle Royal. Mercedes Martinez, who just signed with WWE, was part of the Battle Royal. And also, Shayna Baszler was part of the Battle Royal. Nobody got eliminated for a while, but eventually the elimination started. Eventually, it came down to Baszler, Tegan Nox, Io Shirai, and Bianca Belair. And Baszler ended up eliminating Mercedes Martinez, which got a lot of boos, of course, because Mercedes is like a fan favorite, indie darling. Tegan Nox was on fire, eliminating people and going crazy. And then all of a sudden we had Dakota Kai come out, and she caused Tegan to be eliminated from the match. And then a newcomer, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Shotzi Black, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. She eliminated Shayna Baszler for the big surprise. So Shayna Baszler not winning this match, despite being the favorite to win, even though I think she was pulled from the advertising at some point. But we'll see what happens if Shayna has any more matches left in her before she goes to the main roster. You would think that she's going to be on the main roster sooner than later. But anyways, it was down to Io and Bianca Belair. And in the end, it was Belair who eliminated Io to become the new #1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship. She will face Rhea Ripley at the NXT TakeOver Portland pay-per-view. Little bit of an interesting choice for Bianca to win. I don't expect her to win the title, so I guess she's just somebody for Rhea to beat and establish as champion by picking up a win over Bianca Belair. But overall, seemed like a pretty good NXT show as the norm. The game is on 100 with a $5 super chat. Says, I bet Big G is upset over Baszler's elimination from the Battle Royal. What are your thoughts on AEW's new show in 2020 and are extended into 2023? All right, so first of all, I'm happy for AEW. It's great news for wrestling fans. AEW, their contract with TNT is now extended through 2023. And also they will be getting more programming on TNT, which I believe is going to be AEW Dark. And I don't think they should really add more programming. I think Dynamite and then Dark as the second show, I think that's enough. Don't have more programming. Don't make a fifth hour. Just put Dark on TNT. But then again, the whole concept of AEW Dark was you're going to show the dark matches on the internet. So are they really dark matches if they're on national television now? So kind of weird. Maybe they'll change the name of the show. But I'm fine with AEW having two shows, and the second show can be more of a recap show and you can have some additional matches. But yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with the second show. If they revamp Dark, or if they just call it Dark, or I don't know what they're going to do. But congrats to AEW. It's a sign that TNT is committed to the brand. So definitely a positive for the fans and for the brand moving forward. All right, guys, on that note, I will wrap up this edition of the recap video. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern, the No DQ review goes live with myself, Virtue, Robbie Vice, and TJS, I think. If not, might just be the three of us. I'm not sure, but we will be on tomorrow night. So stay tuned, tell a friend, spread the word, and pick up some No DQ merch. NoDQ.com/merch. You see in the background, I got the No DQ logo here. You could pick up one of these over on NoDQ.com merch. And there are also ones for Virtue's t-shirt design and Big G's. And there's lots of cool stuff up on there, so check it out. And by the way, D. Martin with a $2 super chat says, the newcomer is Shotzi Blackheart. Yeah, again, I just don't know how to pronounce her name. But yeah, she made a big splash in her debut on NXT, picking up an elimination on Shayna Baszler. I'm tired, guys. I got to sign off. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.